could it really get any worse than this? So the Eagles just got embarrassed by Jonathan Gannon and the Cardinals in what may have been the most disgraceful game from this team in recent memory, and a lot of people deserve blame. The defense as a whole was just pitiful, especially against the run, and Jordan Davis actually called out the defense for this after the game. Meanwhile, Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson are being called out for some pretty stupid play calling at the end of the game that really cost the Eagles, and it seems like A.J. Brown has had enough of it, as based on some brief comments after the game, one could assume that he's pretty pissed off with the offense, and specifically the coaches. And with all these problems on both sides of the ball, Jason Kelce at least seems a little worried, as the Birds are just one game away from the playoffs, and they do not look ready in the slightest. I mean, it really does seem like this team that once had so much hope could be headed for a first-round exit. So let's talk about that and everything else from what was arguably the worst Eagles loss in years. And we won't waste any time, let's get straight into it. Heading into this game, it was really supposed to be a blow. The Eagles had recently sort of kind of bounced back from a really rough 3-game losing streak by beating the Giants, but they didn't do it convincingly, and that's something that the Eagles have really failed to do all year, win a game convincingly. So with Jonathan Gannon and the 3-12 Arizona Cardinals coming to town, we all saw this as an opportunity to finally do that. We had heard all the talk from the players and coaches about being in playoff mode and being committed to fixing the issues, and now it was just time to go and do everything that they had talked about and close out 2023 the right way with a convincing win over a bad football team. But we all know what happened.
Look at him choke! Look at him suffer!
Now, the Eagles began this game the same sort of way that they ended it, with some questionable offensive play calling, as after 2 straight positive runs that got the Eagles into a 3rd and 2 situation, they decided to throw the ball on 3rd down, and Kenneth Gainwell was stopped short, so it was a quick 3-and-out for the Birds, and then Kyler Murray and the Cardinals got rolling, starting with a play where it looked like Avonte Maddox got absolutely cooked on his first play back, and then the Cardinals and James Conner really got the run game going, but once they got into the red zone, Milton Williams came up clutch, getting a big sack on 1st and goal where he actually forced a fumble, but the Cards did recover, and the Eagles were then able to get a stop from there and force a field goal. So not a great start for the Eagles defense, but it was good to get a stop in the red zone. Then the Eagles offense went back out onto the field and put together a nice drive with a couple of big plays through the air before ending it off with a pleasant surprise as Jalen HUrts dropped back on 2nd and 8 and fired a strike to Julio Jones of all people in the back of the end zone for a score to put the Eagles up 7-3, which I love to see. I've definitely been wanting Julio to be used a bit more in the offense, so again, this was great to see, and at least drop a like down below for Julio having a big day. The Eagles defense then marched back out onto the field to try and bounce back from what was not quite an ideal start to the game, and they kinda did, as a miscommunication between Kyler Murray and his receiver ended up in him throwing a pass right to Sidney Brown that he caught and then ran back 99 yards for the touchdown to put the Eagles up 14-3, and this was really an incredible play. The blocking from the defense was nice, and the run back from Sid was impressive, and I love seeing Brown get his moment to shine. I personally think he's going to be a really good player for this defense within the next few years, so it was cool to see him make his first really big play in the NFL. That being said, this drive did not come without flaws, as the defense got marched down the field again, and the only reason the Eagles actually got the interception was because of a miscommunication by the Cardinals, so the defense was clearly having some problems stopping the Cardinals offense, and that remained true on their next drive right after the pick six, as James Conner and the Cardinals continued to gut the Eagles on the ground, and they moved all the way down the field on what was another really long drive, almost taking up 10 minutes, but they stalled out yet again in the red zone after a penalty backed them up into a 3rd and long, and they were forced into another field goal. So even though the Eagles were up at this point in the game, it definitely wasn't all good. The defense couldn't stop the Cardinals from moving the ball, and they had dominated time of possession and yardage, and the only reason they were up is because the Eagles had capitalized on their big opportunities and the Cardinals hadn't. And that continued on the Eagles' final drive of the first half, which spanned 9 plays and went 75 yards and lasted only around a minute and a half, and the Eagles did this absolutely unreal trick play on a 3rd and 1, faking the brotherly shove and instead pitching it out to Kenneth Gainwell, who then threw a 17-yard pass to DeVonta Smith for the first down.
Did we just see what we think we just saw? Wow!
And then on the very next play, Jalen HUrts dropped back, stepped up, and fired yet another pass to Julio Jones, who caught the ball off the tip and got into the end zone for his 2nd touchdown of the game, and the Eagles sideline and crowd were loving it, and it certainly seemed like the vibes were back in Philly. Unfortunately, we know what happened in the second half.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Now, the second half started with another great drive by the Cardinals as they marched all the way down the field, mainly due to their dominant run game led by James Conner and also Michael Carter, and the drive ended in a Kyler Murray 6-yard touchdown pass to Michael Carter, who broke a tackle from Shaq Leonard to get into the end zone. And then it was a similar story on their next drive, as after the Eagles offense had a 3-and-out, the Cardinals then began to pound the rock again, and James Conner broke off a huge 22-yard run on this drive, and then it all culminated in a 5-yard touchdown pass from Kyler Murray to James Conner as the running back pulled the score in with one hand. And then the Cardinals actually were able to tie the game with a 2-point conversion on the next play with a pass to Michael Wilson. So for the second straight week, the Eagles had completely fallen apart in the third quarter. Last week against the Giants, it was turnovers that cost the Birds, so the blame went to the offense there, and this week, it was the defense, both the play calling and the execution. I mean, there were missed tackles, and the run defense was just horrible. Really, the whole game, it was terrible, and Jordan Davis was a big part of that, so he explained what exactly was wrong with the run defense and why the Cardinals were able to have so much success.
It's definitely a lot of things that we can fit, whether we was misplacing the gap or we just missed tackling or overshot the gap, misfits, all that plays a factor. But we have to watch film, have to assess what happened. Can't give you a definite answer of why or what happened, but at the end of the day, it's unacceptable, and we got to do our part, and we got to make sure that we fix it. James Conner's a good running back, or a great running back. Let's not even say good. He's a great running back. He makes plays. It's hard to bring down. It's just what we have to do. We have to make sure that we shut him down. That was one of our key points, make sure that we shut the run game down. We didn't do that, and cause an effect, going down to the wire in the fourth quarter again, and we just couldn't pull it out.
I mean, it just bothered me that the Eagles knew coming into the game that the run game was going to be a big part of what the Cardinals wanted to do, and they still couldn't stop it. And he also made some great points. The Eagles really are undisciplined in taking care of their gap responsibilities, and it really showed in this game. And I mean, it looks like they're just not quite playing as a team in that sense. And honestly, the defense looked like they just had no heart. They looked like they lost their confidence, and Kevin Byard did disagree with that when he was asked about it, but he also did explain what the Eagles have to do to build their confidence back up a little bit.
No matter what the records are late in the year, you got to be able to stop the run, you got to be able to run the ball and all those things. You got to be cleaner in situational football, and when you're not, you're going to lose. So that's just the reality situation. So we just have to be cleaner there on the small things, the detail, the fundamentals, the techniques, and that's what it comes down to. Confidence, you gain confidence when you play good football. So I don't think anybody individual confidence is bad. It's just you got to be cleaner. That's really what it is.
Well, we know that the Eagles are not playing clean or playing good football right now, and the third quarter was a prime example of that. Now, luckily, the offense was able to respond in the fourth quarter, as yet again, we saw DeAndre Swift kickstart the offense, and then they were able to get all the way into the red zone and cap off the drive with a Dallas Goedert touchdown catch, putting the Eagles back up 28-21. So then it was right back on the defense to get a stop. So could they do it? Of course not, as the run game remained dominant and a huge pass interference call aided the Cardinals in getting into the red zone once again, where they finished again, this time by way of a Kyler Murray touchdown pass to Michael Carter. I mean, truly, it was a horrible day for the defense. But the silver lining is that the offense had played well for the most part, and now they got the ball on the Cardinals' 39-yard line after they tried a gutsy onside kick but failed. So all the Eagles had to do was manage the clock well, run it down, and score some points, preferably a touchdown, to pull out another ugly win. But after just one first down, the Eagles found themselves in a 1st and 20 situation after a Jordan Mailata holding call, and then what happened next is quite unbelievable. So we're going to get into that and more in just a minute here, but real quick, I do want to say, if you are enjoying this video or finding it informative in any way, make sure you go down and subscribe, and also really importantly, turn on notifications so you don't miss any other Eagles updates just like this. I think that's a win-win for the both of us. I mean, I get more people watching the videos, and you don't miss any other Eagles content just like this. And also, while you're at it, if you are enjoying the video, make sure you drop a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. Now, with all that being said, let's get back into the video. So on that 1st and 20 after the hold, the Eagles opted for a QB draw to the right, which gained just 4 yards. And then on the next play, for some inexplicable reason, they did literally the exact same thing, and they lost 4 yards this time. And honestly, I don't understand the logic here at all. I simply don't. And then on the play right after that, which was then a 3rd and 20, they played it so conservative with a screen pass to Kenneth Gainwell that goes nowhere. I mean, this was probably the dumbest 3 consecutive play calls I have ever seen in my entire life. And it came in such a crucial situation. And you know what? It gets even more mind-boggling as Nick Sirianni actually defended the play calls after the game.
Yeah, I don't think that's a conservative there. I mean, if they're blitzing a bunch of gaps right there, you're running a gap scheme that has a chance to hit for big yards that we needed to get back into it. We could have thrown it there too. We chose to go there. Hey, it didn't hit. The screen. We're 3rd and what was it? Yeah, that's tough you're going to have a hard time converting, and we got to get ourselves in a range. The wind was blowing into our face a little bit on that side earlier in the game, so we needed to get in better range to make sure that we took a 3-point lead there, and hey, they went down and scored, and we didn't win the game.
Nick Stop it. Please do not act like that wasn't literally as conservative as you could have possibly played it on those 3 play calls. I mean, when was the last time we saw an Eagles wide receiver screen go for big yards? I couldn't tell you. And then I get maybe 1 quarterback run, but 2 to the same side. I mean, what are we doing here? You got 2 1,000-yard receivers and a 1,000-yard running back, and none of them touched the ball on that sequence. How does that make any sense at all? And I'll tell you what, I'm 100% officially there at this point, and I think I kind of already was there, but this was just the nail in the coffin. After this season is over, it's officially fire Brian Johnson's season. I'm done with the guy. I think he's a trash play caller and a bad offensive coordinator, and I'm done with it. And the defense, whether it's PATRICIA or DESAI, we may need a big shakeup there as well. I don't know, maybe if PATRICIA was the DC from the start of the year, maybe it would look a bit different than it does now, but I might just say it's wraps, fire both coordinators, and find actual good ones who can call plays. Oh, and Nick Sirianni, you're not excused either. You have not done your job nearly well enough this year. It's simple as that. This coaching staff that you brought in absolutely blows, and it's the reason that they're being held back. And after a loss like this, I think I'm officially there. Nick Sirianni should be on the hot seat at this point. Now, I personally don't believe he should be fired after this year. I know the fan base is kind of split on this, and I'll definitely get hate for saying this, but Sirianni has made the playoffs in all 3 years that he's been the head coach, and he went to the Super Bowl once. So I feel like he's earned a little bit of leeway, and he at least deserves 1 more year. We've seen we can have success with him in the past, but he does need a good staff around him, and if next year ends up being a big disappointment like it looks like this one is going to end up being, he's going to have to go at that point. So that's my take, and I'm sticking to it, but what do you guys think? Do you think Nick Sirianni should be fired after this season, or should the Eagles give him 1 more year? Now, the fans aren't the only ones seemingly pissed at Nick Sirianni, as A.J. Brown was clearly frustrated after that drive, and after the game, he once again refused to talk to the media, although they did get this clip of him very respectfully declining to speak, but what he said specifically here was very interesting.
So I'm not about to talk.
Not going to talk today?
Can you tell us why? If it was me talk, that would be talking. There's nothing to say.
I think you'll talk this week. You don't know.
It ain't directly towards y'all, so I just want to clear it. Okay.
So that last comment there, he said, it ain't directed towards y'all, meaning that my video from Friday was dead wrong, but the only other thing that it seems like he could possibly be frustrated about besides the media is the offense, and specifically the coaching scheme and play calling. And that speculation was confirmed on Monday by Marcus Hayes of the Philadelphia Inquirer, where he put out an article saying that A.J. Brown's recent dissatisfaction and refusal to talk to any media is not a jab at any teammates or the media themselves, but rather directed at the coaching staff, quote, according to teammates. And Hayes also wrote, quote, Brown isn't alone in his fury, he's just the least reserved. And honestly, you can't really blame him or any of his teammates. The offensive play calling has just been boneheaded this year, and the scheme is way too simple. I mean, it's a high school level offense if you really dive deep into it, and it's just unacceptable, and it's held this team back all year, and people need to be held accountable. Now again, I think Sirianni should be back next year, but he's got to bring in a much better staff or his time is coming too. And again, going back to AJ, really, who could blame him? I mean, I personally have no problems with AJ continuing his silence, but what do you guys think? How do you feel about AJ still not speaking? Now finally, getting back to that last offensive sequence, things were only made worse by the fact that when Gainwell was tackled, DeVonta Smith got rolled up on, and he left the game with some kind of lower leg injury, and he was then seen after the game in crutches and a walking boot. And at this point in the game, I 100% knew the Eagles were going to lose the game because simply the defense hadn't been able to do anything to stop the Cardinals offense all day. And lo and behold, the Eagles defense got marched down the field once again until James Conner eventually punched it in from 2 yards out to give the Cardinals a 35-31 lead with 32 seconds left, and the Eagles got the ball back and had a Hail Mary opportunity, and of course, it was intercepted, meaning that the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that was once the Super Bowl favorite early in the season, had lost 4 out of its last 5 games, this one being the worst of all to a now 4-12 Arizona Cardinals team, led by the main culprit in the Eagles Super Bowl loss last year.
I'm going to throw up. I think I'm going to throw up.
Don't throw up.
The nice dinner that I had, I'm going to throw it up.
And guess what? Just to make everything a little bit more depressing, there's a really good chance that that was Jason Kelce, Fletcher Cox, and Brandon Graham's last home game because the Eagles now have no home games left on the schedule, and they're also the 5 seed in the NFC with this loss. And barring a shocking Cowboys loss next week and an Eagles win, that's where they're going to be finishing. So that sucks, and really, I just have no confidence in this team beating anybody right now. There's so many issues, and I think it may go a lot deeper than us fans can understand, and I don't know if these things can be fixed. I mean, at this stage in the year, it seems really unlikely. I think this is just who the the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles are, and the blame belongs to different parties every week, and I'd still give a majority of it to the coaches, but the players definitely aren't without fault, and they just played with no heart sometimes, and it's sad to see, and the vets don't deserve this either. Jason Kelce doesn't deserve this. We want to send him out on top with another ring, but it just doesn't look good, and after the game, he was asked how worried he is about the state of this team, and this was his answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we got a lot of things to clean up. I don't know. I don't like the word worry. I think that's a soft word. I think that we need to just be more accountable and more. Got to fix the mistakes. Defensively, we got to stop the run. Offensively, we need to be able to execute in the run game when we need to. Just not collectively good enough today.
I mean, he did say all the right stuff, and he listed the things that they just have to fix, but again, at this stage in the year, I have absolutely no confidence in them doing that. I mean, this team is really disappointing right now, and if things don't change fast, they're likely headed for a first-round exit, maybe second round at the very best, because maybe they would beat the NFC South champion, maybe that's the Bucs or the Saints, but there's just absolutely no way I see them getting past that, and it sucks, because they got all the talent to win it all. It's just coaching that's holding them back, and just something's off. I don't quite know what it is, but something's off with this team, and it's really sad to see. So the Eagles are still in the playoffs, and they have a game left, so I guess we'll see what happens. But all I'll say is, I'm not confident at all. And with that being said, what do you guys think? Give me your reactions to the Eagles' loss to the Cardinals down in the comments. And even though I'm now very defeated as an Eagles fan, I'll still be covering the team throughout the playoffs and also well into the offseason, so if you don't want to miss any of that, make sure you subscribe and also, again, turn on notifications. Also, drop a like down on this video if you did enjoy it and want to show some support. And if you want to watch another Eagles video, you can go check this one out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.